good. So, Dids, what's the topic?
What is the topic? Fuck. All right. So the topic today is hype. Is it good or bad?
Interesting question.
Dun dun dun.
Yes. So, who wants to start on this dilemma?
How could we start on the dilemma?
Yeah,
What do you guys feel?
where do you go? Um. Dang. Yeah, where do you even start with it? It is a thing. Hype is a thing.
Hype is
People make fun of it, and sometimes it's fake, and sometimes it is real.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right. Let's like set the bar for what we're basically gonna be talking about. Let's like set the bar. All right. We're gonna start out. We're gonna start this shit as strong as we can. All right.
Awesome.
I want to talk about the bad hype. What do you
Yeah.
guys consider to be bad hype?
Okay, well, bad hype is something that is like really manufactured, um, albeit through really colorful language, and it's often also empowered by straight up lies. Either, and you know what, some of that stuff is unintentional too, but just focusing on bad, sometimes there's straight up lies behind it. There's doctored screenshots as a true thing that happen. There's graphics that start to look okay in trailers and then they're downgraded after they come out. And then, there's developers that straight up lie about things.
Right.
So I guess those are some pillars of bad hype to me.
And of each of those things that you said, I can think of perfect examples for each one of the specific things.
Sure. Also, I think it's mismanaged expectations. There's younger people and, some older people. If it's straight up lies, and you don't know that, what am I trying to say? Yeah, you need to have managed expectations too. I'll just put it like that.
Yeah, I have seen a bunch of times. Well, it feels like a bunch of times because how many games have been hyped and it just does the same thing. But I always know. I mean, not that I know, but I'm always worried when I hear about hype for a game and the hype is so strong that not even the people that create the game explain what it is. They just ride the hype. They just like explain it with the hype. They talk about what people are expecting.
Let's go with the flow.
Instead of talking about what it actually is.
Yeah.
Some of it isn't always a developer's fault, and sometimes it is. Because, okay, you can take a game like The Division, for example. Like The Division. Like what, I was just thinking about that because you posted that video there a little bit ago. Dids. Like, you can see it at face value, you're running around in a huge city and you team up with people and there's loot and you shoot people. Like, how much explaining can you even afford to do in your marketing to be like, no, this is like a little more linear than you expect it to be. Enemies aren't going to be as varied or whatever. You see what I'm trying to say? Like, how much explaining can you do to even have that point come across right? A developer isn't going to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's something that it's been in my head for quite some time, and I really do not want to say this because I like and love YouTube as it is, but seeing it in the perspective as a YouTuber, YouTube is a toxic community. Whether we like it or not, it is, and it's the truth. And a lot of the hype that even people, YouTubers have with these games are with people like YouTubers that we like, such as Angry Joe, Boogie,
Mm-hmm.
um, uh, maybe other YouTubers who are gamers for a long time, and they overhype stuff. They're like, "Oh yeah, we're so excited for this game to come out. I can't wait." And their fans, their followers, also get into that hype, and they fell for that hype. And when the game comes out, boom. Some of the hype, they come from the fans. They come from the YouTubers too. YouTubers who um, manage to uh, take the game before the game comes out,
Yes.
and they kind of overhyped it because maybe they're paying them.
Yeah, they're
Maybe,
obligated to.
yeah, they're obligated to talk really good about the game and nothing about the
Yeah.
bad, and eh, that's that is why it's a little bit of the toxic type of YouTube right there. And it's kind of dangerous because um, sometimes it's not the developer's fault, just like you, Dan and Dids say. It's not the developer's fault all the time because I mean, I want my game to sell, but the hype is so big that their game, is not going to be like as expected, and sometimes they just hide. They just cancel their their Twitter account. They closed it, and those things have been
Hmm.
happening. And we know for a fact that one of those really hype games from last year happened. Something similar for what I'm talking about. That is No Man's Sky. It's been a year now,
Huh.
Oh, man.
so
I mean,
uh,
it's starting to look like what the hype said now,
now exactly because
a year later,
a year later.
because now they've got vehicle travel, they've got base building. Oh my god, didn't they like yesterday or a couple of days ago release a story mode update?
I did see
Now they
that.
included portals for fast travel. Oh my god.
That's pretty kind of like hey, I know you forgot about us, but we fixed some stuff.
The
Like,
king of
Yeah.
all examples, and it only happened about a year ago.
yeah,
Yeah, but I do feel that No Man's Sky, when I mentioned earlier, and Dan too mentioned it a little bit about like he like touched upon it and then I kind of like explained it a bit more. But about developers, instead of actually talking about a game, they like ride the hype given into their game. No Man's Sky to me is like the perfect example of that, because the problem that Sean Murray had was he bought into the hype himself.
mm-hmm,
Like the fans themselves hyped up the game. Then Sony invested into No Man's Sky,
yeah,
and that just like I'm pretty sure Sean Murray knew that this was already out of control, but he couldn't turn back. I think he felt he couldn't turn back, and the only option he had was to just like ride the hype
yeah. Let's
and
just go with
hope
the flow.
hope that the game was ready enough, which it wasn't. In no way was it. But hope that the game was ready enough upon release.
Yeah, it's a shame, really, because other thing that overhyped stuff, becomes a toxic thing is E3s. Let's not forget E3 this year.
Mm-hmm.
We did our predictions. We made also a podcast about our predictions, and basically none of them appeared in the
Yeah.
in the on the E3. Um, but we also said that we cannot get very hype about it because we've seen previous E3 about the overhyping, the upcoming games, how they looked in the E3 versus how they look when they release. That's basically what happened with the this Tom Clancy's game, The Division.
Yeah.
It looks somewhat on E3 differently, like, and then when it came out, a major disappointment for the fans.
Right. Watch Dogs is quite the most noticeable
Oh,
example as well. Modders, they're able to dig in the game and find graphical assets that are labeled E3, and it contained things that showed up in that trailer that weren't in the game, but that were still buried there.
yeah. You could probably go into YouTube and search up Watch Dogs graphics comparison and
Mm-hmm.
show on a console or a computer on the best settings possible, and then show the trailer that they had at the highest quality you could find, and the difference is shocking.
Yeah,
It is
It is.
so shocking.
and the graphical assets that are still in there, it's like really just a lie is what it is. Because if they're sitting in there, like they could have used some of that stuff, but the people who modified them in, if I'm remembering correctly, the stuff was janky. It wasn't working right, even though some of it would. In the span of an open world, I guess that kind of makes sense with things changing and traffic and all that. But still, like, that's just false advertisement, man.
Yes.
Yeah, I think maybe it would have worked a lot better if they hadn't done Watch Dogs, because as I recall, I mean, as I know, uh, Watch Dogs originally wasn't going to be Watch Dogs. It was another driver game. You remember the Drive games?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was supposed to be a Drive game, but then they just made it into Watch Dogs. Okay, so at least some of the sections that were like, even if it was supposed to be a drive game, I kind of felt like, yeah, it's very noticeable. There are way too many driving sections in this game, and driving is hard as hell. The reason I bring this up with gameplay mechanics is because I've seen companies be like downgrade like they don't show their games don't end up being that as graphically amazing as they hype it up to be.
Yeah.
But some games just make it work. Another perfect example of a game that might shock a few people, you can also look for comparison videos on the trailer and how the game actually looks at ultra settings or how high settings you can get it to. Rainbow Six Siege
Siege. Yeah.
was very downgraded, I think even more than Watch Dogs. But people don't hate the game. And the hype did not ruin the game. Because because it's a really good game. It's a very well made game, even if it doesn't look as good as they marketed it as. But Watch Dogs did not have that luck because it's not a very well made game either. There were a bunch of glitches upon launch.
Yeah.
If I recall correctly, there was a day 1 patch, a day 3, and a week after patch, just to make the main story work until the end so people could actually finish the game.
Right. I do remember that. And, from a gameplay standpoint, people were hoping that the hacking was a stronger semblance of it. And from the advertisement, that's all Aiden Pierce really did. But then you get into the game and it really does just boil down to just using a gun for everything.
That's another thing. A person that never the story was hyped as, you're this guy who doesn't kill and has a moral code and is gonna hack his way through the entire game and get what he wants, be able to save the people and save himself. But when you go into the game, it's just, okay, shooty, 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 drive, drive. let's hack for like a minute, and then let's just shoot more people for 20 minutes.
Free money, just mindlessly walk the sidewalk and, steal from people's phones or whatever.
Exactly.
It's like, I mean, I remember it came out for the last generation too, the 7th generation, and I'm like, okay, you're doing the same mistake as Call of Duty is doing right now, because we all know that graphically, the 7th gen versus the 8th gen console is there's a difference, and maybe that became a problem because of those old platform games, consoles. The other reason was that it was competing against Infamous, which was also another open world. Those really early PlayStation 4, Xbox One games.
Was it the first Infamous or Infamous Second Son?
Second Son.
Okay.
And those, those games are really good IPs right there. Such as, I think it was Son of Rome. Yeah.
Rise, Son of Rome.
Rise, Son of Rome. It was not open world, but it is a really good game, and I played it.
Is it?
Yeah. I do feel that game. I mean, if you ask me, games that were overhyped and didn't do as well as the hype that built it, like didn't live up to the hype, I would include Rise, Son of Rome, at least in my opinion.
Yeah,
but it wouldn't be as grievous as the games we've already mentioned.
Right.
Yeah, I agree with that. Well, I think that was it an Xbox One launch title?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. I mean, that's some of it too.
With the Forza.
Yeah, that's some of it too. You're getting to see this stuff with the brand new IP with the brand new console.
Exactly.
Dude, it just looked like a QTE fest to me. So it's interesting to hear somebody talk something positive.
Yeah. So, about dang it. What's the game again? Watch Dogs.
Watch Dogs, yeah.
Yes. At least it did not hurt so much of the sequel.
No, I think the sequel definitely.
Yeah, the sequel did fix it. It wasn't that overhyped, and I think that did well for the game because of the overhype from the first game. The people that let's not just overhype it because it might turn out like the first game, and then it turned out to be good.
Yeah,
I have the game. I own the game, and it's really
good. It helps that the first Watch Dogs, it's not a piece of crap game at all. Like people were still able to enjoy that.
Mm-hmm.
So the reputation wasn't completely run through the mud. Speaking of like reputation, like hype should be managed through the developers as well. We've already mentioned Ubisoft a number of times with their CG trailers, with their players acting like not normal players.
Yeah,
would act like
gameplay.
The fake graphics. There and everything's tagged with something. I was just talking about Dishonored with somebody I was playing with.
Yeah.
Dishonored 2, right?
Well, yeah, Dishonored 2.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't mean to say that game. That was a game I was going to talk about in a little bit. I meant to say For Honor. Sorry. For Honor.
Okay.
That game looks so stinking promising, but I had to keep myself in check because of Ubisoft, and sure enough, they have a horrible networking service, which the game's been out forever, and I'm only just now hearing that they're looking into fixing it to give it traditional servers so you can actually connect with people and play. But still, you've already, reputation of a company.
Yeah, and I understand. I have a few friends that still stream For Honor, on Twitch and on YouTube, and a lot of them say that the MMR for For Honor is very unbalanced. The matchmaking ratings,
Yeah.
like even if you're starting out, you get paired up with people that are way more advanced, have way more experience, probably have I'm not entirely sure if you can unlock extra items or stuff through levels, but apparently they just get matched up with people that are just way too experienced at the game instead of being matched up with people that are basically at your level, that have your number of games played, your number of wins and losses.
The rookie versus the pro is unfair.
Yeah, exactly.
So, I'm going to tell you guys a story about hyping a game. One of the videos that you sent remind me of that hype, and I felt stupid because that was Battlefield Hardline.
Oh my god, I fell into that. I fell into that
And
too.
I was like, okay, the first time I saw it on the E3, I think it was E3 2013, 14, I don't remember. I think it was 13. I was like, oh, okay. I told my brother-in-law, we just split the money and we just, buy half and half, so we don't have to like buy it, full thing. We both share our PSN accounts, and when I played it, I played the story, the campaign. So the hype was maybe before I go to the detail. Before I hype, the hype thing was like these cops and robbers thing. You are a full cop. Almost not a linear type of shooter. I expected a little bit open, but it was extremely linear. And then I like, okay, let's just play it. I started playing it, and then I finished it like in 3 days. I think even pro gamers finish it in one day, but I just like, oh, let's just stretch it out. And when I saw that it was like 7 episodes, and I finished it in 3 days, I'm like, this is not looking good. And I'm like, Angry Joe is gonna be so pissed off about this. And yes, he was really pissed off about this game. Even the online, I have fun in the online. Pretty much, okay, cops and robbers, it was there, but there were some other things that were dragged from the other games. I'm like,
I can recall I had the same experience with Battlefield Hardline, and another game that I'm going to mention in a bit that I would love to talk about.
Right.
But with Battlefield Hardline, at least that and the other game was hyped so much. I was so into it that I bought both games for a friend just so that I could come over frequently and play the game.
Oh dang.
So at least with Battlefield Hardline, I can recall specifically this one section where I was in a room with my team. I would see the room. It's totally, there's like open spots in the wall I can go through, and I would step out of the walls, outside of that room, immediately get sniped. And I'm like, what the hell's going on? And I spent so long, I think over 30 minutes, just running around this room trying to find what I was supposed to do. And I was supposed to walk to one certain member of my team, pull out a certain type of equipment, then talk to him, pass him that equipment, and then I could leave the room exactly the same way I have been trying to leave this room for over 30 minutes.
Was that the?
That's
Can't remember that part.
it was no.
No. Maybe I was just like way too bored. Like, let's just get over it.
I did finish the game so quickly I was able to return it.
The hype was just too
So-
high, man. The hype ruined it, man. It ruined my experience, like, because the hype was me. The first one was me, and the hype was YouTube, because this was gonna be this new type of Battlefield, out of the war section of like the futuristic war, etc. Battlefield 3, Battlefield 4. Besides those, this was going to be a new type of Battlefield, and it wasn't. It was just a copy and paste, and let's just do that cops and robbers shit, and yeah, that's it. That's all you're gonna get. And that crocodile part, gosh. I felt really frustrated when I finished it, and I'm like, I shouldn't have overhyped this thing in the first place. And then I learned my lesson. I learned my lesson the hard way. So Dan, have you experienced something like this?
Well, I've certainly been misled before. I did come close to getting No Man's Sky. Dodged a bullet there, right?
Yeah.
Were you able to refund it?
I didn't actually purchase it.
Oh,
I just said I came close.
okay, all right.
Yeah.
Wait, but didn't Shinja buy No Man's Sky?
He did. I was going to go with him.
This is why he's not in this podcast, because he's so embarrassed talking about.
Oh, is that what he said? Oh, poor soul. Yeah, I mean, I almost went with him. It was going to be a midnight release at, GameStop probably. I think it was. But, I mean, I've certainly been misled before. I have quite a library of games, and not all of them are good. I'm not out to collect every single game, for absolutely everything, but I'm happy if the grand majority of games that I have, if they just typically show up on like people's, like top 50 or whatever. That's what I just kind of like to get. Not that I follow those lists. I make my own opinions on what I get. So I own very, very, very few games that are just straight up bad. And I can safely say that the worst game that I own was Shadow the Hedgehog for the Nintendo GameCube. Because I was kind of misled. That was a time where I was super into third-person shooters. And it's like, oh, dude, Shadow's so cool, and he's got a motorcycle, and it's like this. And I also loved Adventure 2, by the way, for the Dreamcast. I enjoyed that game when I was younger. Now that I'm older, I can see the areas where it hasn't held up so well. But when I was younger, I enjoyed that game. And it's like, oh, man. So it's like another adventure game, except now I get to shoot guns, and it has multiplayer. And, yeah, that was a mess.
The controllers were a mess in the first place. I own the game. Yeah, it's
either way. So, given my track record, when you look through my library throughout my year of keeping my games that I buy, like, you won't see hardly any missteps in there. And now with the internet and streaming, it's super easy to not take those missteps anymore.
Although we do see some companies pulling basically backhand tactics, even with the internet, to get
They
their
sure
game
do.
sold, which relates to what I mentioned earlier about the other game I got with Battlefield Hardline. This game I got for my birthday, which I got for my friend to play with him. I just want to say this name and see if any of it sinks in for you guys.
All right.
Assassin's Creed Unity.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. Let me just explain the situation. So many YouTubers and streamers wanted to talk about this game. Review copies were handed out, but the embargo for the review copies were that they could not release any statements or videos talking about this game until 12 hours after release. That's launch, midnight launch, and 12 hours afterward. This gave chance for people to wake up, go to the store, buy the game, come home, and have played a little some. Oh my god, the game was such a wreck. It was unplayable.
I had a friend that had it as well.
I think there was
I didn't know that about the
Assassin's Creed came out that same year. It was Unity, and there was some other Assassin's Creed.
Unity came out in November, so I've never been like a big follower of the Assassin's Creed series. The most I've played is the Assassin's Creed 2 storyline, you know, following Ezio, because it's fucking Ezio Auditore.
Right.
But with Unity, I just wanted to give a taste of like what Assassin's Creed had evolved to. And it left a scar on me, I can tell you that.
A bad one.
Yes.
A bad one.
I never even got past the tutorial. I can just remember it giving you like, you know, like it gives you those like certain like story elements and then like, let's do this with the tutorial. I had to follow this guy halfway across the starting area. I could not climb properly. I would be climbing a building and my dude would just let go of everything and fall to his death.
Yeah, I've seen streamers stream this and they just forgot about the game. This game is forgettable. This game makes the movie look good.
And that movie is
that movie got overhyped too.
That movie also got overhyped, but let's stick this to gaming. If you want me to talk about overhyped movie, we're gonna have to do an entirely other podcast.
Yes.
We're gonna have to do another podcast for that.
Oh,
Jesus. So I talked about that, but I also want to talk about how. Okay, I want to throw this out, and I want to see what's the first thing that comes to your guys' minds.
All right.
Overhyped games based on selling peripherals, like extra attachments for the console.
Oh, the first thing that comes to mind?
Yes, the first game that comes to mind. Yeah.
Well, I don't know if Steel Battalion was overhyped or not, but that's a really impressive example. You guys know Steel Battalion?
That
thing was $200
because of the equipment.
The equipment. Yeah, the controller for Steel Battalion was $200, and I don't even think that included the game. Maybe it did. I'm not too informed enough.
Used game.
Yeah, I don't know how much hype was around Steel Battalion though. And then they have to go and make it and then they go and just make a Kinect version. It's like, oh, screw the $200 piece of plastic. Just make it do everything with your body instead. We'll sell more that way. Because Kinect's going to be incredible. which is
Yeah.
another example.
Yeah, that's
The
a really
segue.
another example, such as the Move, such as the Connect. Oh gosh, yeah, pretty much overhyped hardware,
Yeah,
including
overhyped,
consoles.
overhyped hardware. Yeah,
Yeah, consoles today. I mean, not going to blame the developers who are trying to get these consoles to sell, but you know the hype and the lying of this 4K is getting me to the last straw. I'm getting sick of the lies. I'm getting sick of the hype 4K thing, and it's out of control.
but but you don't gotta worry about 4K anymore, Zyber. You don't focus on that. Focus on the new. Now we're gonna have 8K.
Don't give them
Always going up.
ideas.
No, it's actually happening. Look it up. 8K. I
8K,
swear, if you
8K for
Google it right now,
filming. 8K
if you
for
Google it,
filming.
they're
It,
gonna bring it to
it's
video
it's
games.
so hard to just make even 2K for video games.
They're gonna bring it, Zyber. They're already working on it.
It's even so hard. They just have to stop overhyping these consoles that are having all this native 4K, uncompromised 4K. Oh gosh. And the games are presented on E3, like they look so damn good. We're talking about Anthem. Let's talk about Anthem right here. I know the hype, and I know that the hype is so high. The game looks so cool. And they showed us a really decent gameplay.
Yeah.
Let's see. But people are, even YouTubers are overhyping this thing. Now, overhyping, but they're liking how it looks like. There's no problem of liking a game how it looks like. But when it comes to the real thing, when it comes out, we've seen this before. We've seen what the consoles can do. Why are they doing this cycle over and over again?
Because it's what's been adopted for so long. I can give probably a pretty big example of what I consider to be one of the biggest crimes in hype in gaming. Once I throw this name, I know you guys are going to agree with me. All right, just hold on with me. I want to get the rest of the title because I can throw in the first two words correctly, but I can't remember the rest of the title. I've got it written somewhere here. Duke Nukem Forever.
Oh yeah, I mean,
Dang.
How long was that? 11 years? No, 13.
I thought it was 13.
No, not 13.
13 or
15.
15?
15 years.
15.
It was getting that game. I never knew what Duke Nukem was.
Oh, you didn't even know?
I didn't even know what it was when this thing released, and so many people sold this thing to me. Like, this game, it's been 15 years in development. You got a 360? You need this game. You have to get this game. This wasn't even YouTubers or media sites or anything. This was word of mouth.
Mm-hmm.
This game, for someone in where I live, Puerto Rico, for someone to give me word of mouth of a project this big, to me was like mind blown. And right now I see it looking back, and that was like, it had to have a huge amount of hype behind it to do that. And to me, this is one of the greatest atrocities in hype history.
The Steam
Try it. Go ahead and go ahead. I still have the game.
Oh god.
I still got the disc. It's in my bookcase in my childhood room next to my 360 that if I try to turn it on, it's just gonna have a red ring of death.
Immediately. Yeah,
But to
I
me, yeah.
remember. Yeah, I remember. Like Game Informer back in the day. Uh, you know, when people try to like convince you that that a game has been development for years, it's a definitely 100% it's a good game. That wasn't true.
No, it's quite the opposite
Yeah,
with every other example you can think of.
exactly. Because we've seen it with a little bit of Final Fantasy 15.
Yeah.
Since the engine that they were working on it, the first place was not the last engine that they worked on the game. They changed directors, they changed voice actors, they changed the plot. They changed a lot of stuff. The Final Fantasy 13 versus back in the day is not the same Final Fantasy 15 today. And when when a really long development for a game, which means is like they have made a lot of changes. They have made changes, directors, actors, ideas, and maybe they just like, let's just give up and let's just put every idea in this game and let's see how it turns out. Apparently, Final Fantasy 15 didn't have you know bad reviews. It's a really good game, but for that Duke Nukem,
I just want to know how bad it can be. I've never even really seen.
No, just go ahead. You'll enjoy holding your own poop in the first level.
oh god. That was for PlayStation 3. I remember, right? That was
It was for the generation.
yeah.
Yeah.
Was it for the Wii?
I don't remember if it was for the Wii. I have it
No.
on 360.
I remember it was for the PlayStation 3, and I saw those stars like, the rating stars. I'm like, no.
No. Please don't.
Might be on Steam too.
I think it's on Steam. I've seen it on Steam, and I don't know if they took it out.
It is on Steam. Yeah,
I think
they're charging $20 for it.
Fuck that! I wouldn't even pay $1
no.
for it.
No.
$5.
Even I know that. I know it's got to be bad. And I want to know how bad it could be, but I know it's not worth $20.
Just
It's going to be just by itself in some games.
Trust me.
For like $2.
There exist ways. I'm just gonna say that.
There's that too. Sure.
Jesus.
But speaking about, but we did speak referring to the generation and the games. There's one game I kind of want to talk about. Earlier we talked about Rise, Son of Rome, and how that just felt like it had some things, but it really did feel like a QTE fest.
That's the impression I got.
Yeah, but there's one game that I think did it so much worse. So much worse. With the QTE fests. It was supposed to be it was supposed to be a system seller. It was like so freaking hyped by Sony. It was supposed to be like a system seller, one of the best games to be ever released on the PlayStation 4.
Is that
Fucking Order 1886.
Oh god.
It's not right.
No. Don't go there, bro.
We're gonna give you something that feels so real. It's gonna be like a movie. The graphics are amazing. You're gonna have so much interaction with the gameplay. What features do we have? Well, do you enjoy QTEs up the fucking butt? Do you enjoy 24 cinematic FPS? Do you enjoy a weird black barred ratio on your TV that you just can't get your mind around? Do you enjoy dong physics?
Yes.
You should get the Order 1886. It's gonna sell our fucking console.
Dude, that thing was
that.
about as long as a movie, too. It was like stupid short, too.
I've seen Stephen King movie series that have lasted longer than Order 1886.
Yeah.
Dude,
Jesus Christ. That game had
bugs.
fucking bugs. That game
Recycles.
the last boss fight in that game was the exact same fucking QTEs as the second boss.
They got lazy with that game, man.
They just gave you the second boss was a black werewolf. The last boss was I want to say albino, but I guess silver-haired werewolf. It was the exact same fucking fight. If you went to replay the second boss, hey, there's your practice for the last boss. Wowee. That game was, oh my god. You could walk around a hallway for like maybe a minute to then enter about 45 minutes of cutscenes. Oh, hey, here's a QTE out of nowhere. Oh, the game didn't save for you. You're going to have to go through 20 minutes of cutscenes. Fuck Order 1886. Oh my god.
It got overhyped because since the PlayStation 4 won that generation, like people are like, oh man, I PlayStation hardcore. I mean, I'm totally gonna buy that thing.
That game was supposed to be competing with what's the games with the over buff dudes? Chainsaws, Gears of War.
Gears.
Yeah, Gears. Yeah, I think
Order 1886 was supposed to be like this game that flourished into a franchise that would compete against Gears of War. This is do you guys remember how hyped Gears of War was?
Yep.
Yeah.
Imagine that hype for a new IP with PlayStation 4, the competition to Gears of War, and then realize it's Order 1886. Fuck Order 1886.
Dude,
I'm gonna keep repeating this phrase. I hope it gets through some skulls.
I couldn't even
Fuck
stand the live
game.
streams either. It bored me. Even though I'm a live stream watcher, I'm a really good spectator, but I just couldn't stand it. Really, too many QTEs. I don't mind QTEs because there's a lot on Shenmue. There's a lot on new games, but even the story, dude. Even a Telltale games is better. Like,
I mean, I could also say Telltale Games. Okay, all right. Can I get into Telltale Games for a second?
Some of them, yeah.
I mean, okay, all right. Let me just fly by this real quick.
The Batman.
I feel that Telltale Games are pretty good. I'll say that, but it's just way too much of the same thing. It's exactly the same engines, gameplay mechanics. The only one that actually switched it up a little bit was Batman. Okay, you had different choices depending on if you played out each scenario as Batman or as Bruce Wayne. Right? That's not a spoiler because I haven't mentioned like what choices you got when you go into it. But like every single game is just the same engine. It's the same mechanics. It's the same type of choices, and all for like realizing like the same outcomes. Realizing that maybe your choices like help you with like the multiplayer mechanic of telling you how many people do this and do that, but all for like kind of more or less the same ending. Maybe you'll get this character here, this character there, but almost basically for the same reason. They have the same written lines. It's just they serve exactly the same purpose. It doesn't feel like it affects it that much. So I feel that Telltale Games, I feel like each Telltale game they overhype it more and more, but it keeps feeling like exactly more of the same. So I think the more recent games are definitely kind of feeling like disappointments with the hype that they have.
Yeah.
But it's because people are expecting like new improvements and new looks, which they're getting, but not to the expectation that they have with what they're used to with more games. Because if you look at Telltale Game, they've been pumping out game after game with with borrowed IPs from different companies. It doesn't give them a chance to actually work on more features and mechanics and engines for their games.
Mm-hmm.
They just like keep getting signed for, okay, now we want to Telltale Games for our universe. Then another company calls them, we want this one for our universe.
Mm-hmm.
Even Borderlands
They
is
can-
in this, so
Yeah, they started to, before they got super big and super deep into all that. I thought it was like really cool because they at least had Poker Night at the Inventory and Poker Night at the Inventory too.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's just freaking Texas Hold'em, but still, it was different. You know.
yeah.
Yeah, that's all I want to say about the Telltale. I'm sorry. I just had to go on that. Sorry.
Of course. Other thing that even though YouTube is also a toxic, Facebook is also a toxic for overhyping stuff, and because of social media, people have been, falling for these hypes, because they show the specs, they show what the game has. Some, like, that 90% of what they say is true, but since the overhype is so overwhelmed, and I'm gonna talk about Facebook right here. Facebook is
Mhm.
also a toxic community. Um, the comments. Let's just talk about the comments. The people in the comments, either YouTube or Facebook, they. I'm not going to talk about specific fanboys, but they do also have this certain of hype of a level of toxicating everyone, because they do believe that that thing is so true that people should believe what they say, and people buy that. Fanboys anywhere, such as Nintendo, Xbox, Sony ponies, even PC Master Race.
Okay, wait a minute. I just want to. Did you say Sony ponies?
Yes, I said Sony ponies. That's it. I like it.
You better trademark that. Keep going.
I didn't invent it, so it's out there. So
Okay.
the community of fanboys, the fan base of these type of companies, overhype things, and it ain't like us, cause we are not that specific kind of toxic, kind of like Sony pony, Xbot, or Nintendo fanboy type of community, because we're not toxic. But if we fall into that toxic, like, okay, he might be true in this and that, and then you like starting to believe, and there's other people who are falling for that. They keep on spreading the thing, and they're like, okay, so even though Phil Spencer does not like the fanboys, but he also follows what they say. I don't know if you guys have been hearing him recently about the games, about the backwards compatibility, the 4K, the specs of the Xbox One X, the it's so. What I'm trying to get here is that the toxic of this community of hyping stuff is damaging what people want to go through good information, like valid information. Like if I'm going to a certain website or a certain page, I want information. And when I see some people talking about, oh, but you missed this of the specs, you missed that, oh, you don't know anything about it, they just start fighting against the YouTuber or the guy who actually made the information. So I don't know which one is right. And there is where the confusion comes in this argument. So, are you guys following?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. So, um, it's becoming a problem. That's my main concern in this community. Whether it's Facebook, whether it's Twitter, Twitter, it blows everywhere because Twitter, it's there, and if you erase it, it's still there. It doesn't matter if you erase it. Um, your the post is there. So if you know, it all depends on the community. If you have good fan base, I mean, it's gonna be good. There are always gonna be fanboys that are going to backlash your content and overhyping the other competition or overhyping what you're saying. Um. So yeah, that's my main concern with this generation of people who are toxic. I really do not like saying toxic a lot, but they're damaging. People who want to get in good information, they're not getting it too well because most of YouTubers, like I said, they read the comments. Maybe I missed this and that, so I should say it on my video, and it's not true.
Well, the
It's
extreme stuff gets views.
mm-hmm. It's becoming a problem. I've seen YouTubers saying really extreme lies. And I'm like, this is not true. They haven't said this. And it's I really do not like this community at all. I mean, I do like YouTube. I do like Facebook. I do like Twitter. But people need to chill. People need to chill on these hypes and stop the lies, because lies between lies, because companies do lie, and then you're falling for the lie, then you hype the lie, which is
Hmm.
not true, and it's becoming a problem.
Yep. Just oh, like No Man's Sky is just such a recent example.
Yeah.
Everybody's gonna that made video game history. Like we were, we were alive and living in that history. I think it's going to be looked at for a really long time. Everybody is going to drop that when they see something from now on, and that is one of the positive things to come out of all this.
Mm-hmm.
And it's made some companies really apparent, like Ubisoft and EA. Heck,
Right.
we can talk about the first Star Wars
Oh
Battlefront.
yeah, that's a really good example.
Come on, Star Wars Battlefront 2, back on the PlayStation 2, and everything had
Yeah.
2 or 3 times more content and more stuff going on in that game than a brand new game
New game, exactly.
like this.
People expected another thing. People expected, like, oh man, with these kind of graphics, I will be experiencing what I experienced back in the PSP, PlayStation 2 era, and we
That's
didn't
right.
get that. that's a, that's exactly what happened, and I hope it doesn't happen with the second game for Star Wars Battlefront. Uh, I don't see people overhyping it, and that's a good thing. I mean,
Yeah,
there's people who actually learn from overhyping stuff before, and let's just not hype the thing. Let's not hype the game yet. Let's just wait until it comes out, and we just have fun with the game, because this is the problem. Uh, we are the problem. Us who fall for the hype. Me personally, If you fall for the hype, you lose. You're going to be disappointed. That's it. That's reality. People start blaming other people. Oh, you overhyped it. Oh, you stupid, you freaking video overhyped the shit, and they just start backlashing the YouTuber or whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
And it was you all along because you also bought the game expecting some other stuff in the game. I mean, it's us, it's my decision to hype as a fan or hype as a gamer, whatever, hype the thing or not. It's up to us because if we start hyping the stuff, we're gonna get on the same routine, the same cycle of this hype thing. And I really hate today. I really hate to hype the stuff, even though I'm a really hardcore fan. And I'm really a hardcore fan of Shenmue right now, but I'm not going to overhype the game.
Yeah.
Because it might be disappointing to me. It wasn't like the previous games. It wasn't like the Dreamcast. Then I'm gonna start whining about it. I don't want that. I want the game to just simply be another new brand Shenmue game, just like the Kingdom Hearts game. I can't overhype it. The people are doing that. Oh, it's good. It's looking good. It just don't overhype it, man. Just wait until the game comes out and expect what you're playing at the moment. So yeah. Welcome back, Dids.
Hi, sorry about that.
It's alright.
Don't sweat it.
Any last things, guys? It's almost 1 hour. I think it's 1 hour.
Oh
already.
man, has it been an hour already? Jeez.
Yeah, it's been an hour already. Hype. We all been in that hole, man. I feel stupid. I mean, gamers today should mature, should grow up. Even hardcore gamers, even hardcore fans have been telling Dan over here. I don't know if you were hearing me.
I wasn't able to.
It's because that if I overhype Shenmue, then I'm going to be whining. I'm going to be like, oh man, it wasn't like the Dreamcast. Then why did you overhype it? It's my fault that I overhyped it. I cannot blame other people who overhyped the thing because I was the one deciding to hype the game. And people should do that. I mean, even the community should be doing that. Although the fanboys are going to be fanboys. Sony ponies and the Xbox. And Nintendo fanboys. And PC Master Race. Any kind of fanboy could be toxic, but falling for a hype that is not real is extremely bad. And because of those things, developers don't make games more often, even good games. I mean, No Man's Sky was going to be a really good game, but the hype just killed it. The hype just killed it. And that's a really good lesson for us gamers to not overhype things like that. I mean, there's other good games that are coming out, and if we overhype it and it fails because the hype, then it's our fault. There's a lot of games that fail because of our fault. Phil Spencer said, because Scalebound wasn't going to be released because it wasn't on the expectations of the fans. I don't buy that shit.
No,
I don't buy that shit. I'm like, stop lying, Phil. Stop lying, Uncle Phil. I mean, us gamers, we're kind of like the blame on some other games. but a game that never was released. Like, come on. You know. So yeah, that's all I have to say about the overhype. So people be overhyped about these stuff. They just have to choose for themselves whether you believe the hype or not. Anyone else?
No, I'm not sure what else I can say on the subject.
All right.
I mean, you guys know me. I could go on for hours. I have, off the top of my head, I could mention like 10 more games, but
Oh yeah, I probably could
let's
bring up games.
save that for another moment.
Sure, we could do a part 2 of this because we have a whole year, we have a whole life, and yeah. All right, guys. Thank you for watching, listening this podcast. Please don't forget to rate, favorite, comment, and subscribe. This has been Zyberpunky.
Didsikal Games.
My name is Officer Dane.
And yeah, don't forget to see these two channels, Didsikal Games. And
I do.
And
I have a YouTube channel where I'm planning to do my own podcast show, which I would like to officially ask Zyber to be a co-host of the new format I have for my podcast show called Nerd Chats. So I'm going to be having that on my YouTube channel, and I also stream on twitch.tv/Didsikal Games. Yeah.
Didsikal Games.
Officer Dan?
I'm on a YouTube gaming streaming channel called Karibukai Play, and we stream Mario Kart 8 every Tuesday at 11 p.m. Central Time, and Super Mario Maker every Friday at 11 p.m. Central Time. And I also have my own YouTube channel where I put a lot of work and thought into those videos, and that is called SodaWave Show.
Indeed. All right, guys. Thank you for watching once again, and I'll see you guys later.
Fuck Order 1886.
Hashtag that thing.